Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Silver Linings Talk Show. And this is the month of May, which is Mother's Day, warming up in the Northeast, and also a very special Memorial Day, also at the end of the month. So we have a very special guest with us today, a dear friend of mine that I've recently met through a friend who met her at the Coast Guard Academy homecoming last fall, and she was there with her children's book, and she has an amazing story about her daughter and about her life and resilience. And I'm just so proud that I have met her and that she's here with me today. Yes. So without further ado, Dina, do you want to go ahead and start some questions?
Sure. Well, first, thank you, Jennifer, for being here. So,
thank you for having me.
Yes, and can you just tell us a little bit about you? And we need to highlight also that you are a Gold Star mom. And tell us a little bit about what that means.
Okay. Well, first of all, I've worked for the same company for 32 years, and during this time, I became a mom on October 22nd of 1996, and then 24 years and one day later, I became a Gold Star mom. And for anyone who doesn't quite know what being a Gold Star mom means, it means that you lost your child, and your child died during active service to our country. And my daughter was, she was in the Coast Guard.
Wow, that's quite a story to tell. It's heartbreaking yet heroic. And today we're going to talk about your daughter, Morgan, about her childhood, her volunteer work, her spirit, and the essence that she had to help others. And we do have some photos to show as you're kind of talking about, what made her so special.
From a very early age, Morgan, she was so much fun. She had a giggle that just, well, you got to see there, her giggle was just, she lit up a room when she walked in. But some of the things, her personality, and just her loving spirit. A couple of things come to mind. When she was little, we would be out, maybe come home from church, or go walk, go from a walk or from a ball game, and my parents would be with us. And my dad had polio when he was younger, and he always walked a little slower than the rest of us. So we would all be walking either back to the car or somewhere, and I'd look around, and Morgan was always walking with her granddad. I mean, just, making sure that he was okay, and just being there with them. And, there was one time when she was in middle school, one of her fellow students was going to be in the Special Olympics. And when Morgan found out about it, she wanted to do something special, and she didn't know what to do. So she came up with making a human tunnel for the student to run through. And so she went to her teacher, she went to all the teachers very close by, and sure enough, during that time when the student was about to leave, they all piled outside, made a human tunnel for her, for the little, it was a little girl, to run through. And then they all high-fived her as she went off to the bus. And of course it made Morgan stay. And I know it made the students stay.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, it certainly sounds like she was a very thoughtful and giving person, for sure.
There was a time when she graduated from the Coast Guard Academy and went on to flight school, and she didn't get started flying right away. So she volunteered at a nursing home there in Pensacola, Florida, and she became their assistant social director. And she did bingo night, arranged and planned a Halloween party. And it was really cute. There were these 4 little old ladies that pretty much adopted her. And they always wanted to fix her up with their grandsons. And she just had a blast. Had an absolute blast.
Oh, she had patience and such a thoughtful, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh,
Lots of
so
fun.
you had mentioned that she had always wanted to serve her country. What led her to the Coast Guard Academy?
Well, first of all, we didn't know there was a Coast Guard Academy. And how we found out about it, Morgan was a runner, and she ran in middle school and high school, and was actually a pretty elite runner. At one point, she was ranked number 1 in the state of North Carolina in the 800-meter run.
Yep.
And she got a letter from the track coach at the Coast Guard Academy, and like I said, she says, "Mom, I didn't even know there was a Coast Guard Academy." I don't either. Where is it? And then she told me where, and she looked it up, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I want to go there." And she went up for, I think they call it, she was a bean sprout for the weekend or something. And she went up, she went to a couple of classes, she spent the night in the dorm, and I think she even went to a track meet. She's like, "This is where I want to go to school."
Well, it's a beautiful campus with
Yeah.
the Thames River. If you have not been there before, yeah, it's very
Yeah.
beautiful.
Very.
There's her beautiful
Yeah.
picture at the
I love that
academy.
picture.
I love that picture.
Yeah. Forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay.
It's okay, we can come back to that. That's, I
Yeah.
can see you're wearing that exact photo
good, yeah.
of her on your lapel. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Was there always this interest in flying?
Well, growing up, her dad had a small airplane and loved to fly, and she loved loved being around it. She was around it a lot in our neighborhood, and when she heard about the Coast Guard, and then of course found out she could fly for the Coast Guard, that really made her want to go to school there even more so.
So there's a picture with her with like Blue Angels behind her. Was that something that she was training for?
No, in Pensacola, there's a Blue Angels display out there. I think it may be in front of the museum.
Okay.
And anytime the pilots, like in that particular picture, she had, you have to do things in order to, you have to accomplish things in order to even get your flight suit. So she had just done whatever it was to get her flight suit. So they usually all dress up in their flight suit and go out in front of the Blue Angels plane and get their picture made.
So this was a monumental moment because she had just gotten her flight suit. That's awesome.
Right.
And then certainly during her time at the Coast Guard and during her flight training, there was an accident that did result in her and Morgan not surviving. Can you just talk about what happened?
She had just turned 24 the day before, and she was so excited. Her dad was down in Pensacola that day, and I was actually going to be going that next weekend. And I did talk to her that day because, this was right in the middle of COVID, and, people weren't going anywhere. She couldn't even come home. And so I was really excited to be able to go because I hadn't seen her in almost 10 months. And so I talked to her earlier that day. Again, she was so excited that her dad was there. And, she went on about her day. I went on about my day. From what I understand, they had gone up and they had done what I would say would be the hard stuff, where they were, pulling G's, doing, rollovers, loop-de-loops, and things like that. And something happened when they came into land. and they lost control of the plane, and I don't really know exactly, what happened at that point. I didn't even find out about her death until the next day.
And I know you said someone had come to your home.
Right. I got up early. I always get up early on Saturday morning. That was on a Friday, and I get up early on Saturday morning, and I always, my dog and I will walk the neighborhood. And I got up, I grabbed my phone, and there was a message from Morgan out on Facebook, and she had thanked everybody for the wonderful birthday wishes, and she said, I'll remember this, 24 is off to a good start. And I remember getting ready to go walk, and I was on cloud nine. I thought, my daughter, she's so happy right now. And I walk out of the bedroom, and I see a car sitting in my driveway. And I thought, that's kind of strange. And I looked at it for a long time, and then I thought, well, my neighbor's house is for sale. Maybe they're just sitting in my driveway for that. And I turned off the front porch light, and I went on into the kitchen to make coffee. And I don't know, maybe a minute later, the front doorbell rang. And it's just like you see in the movies. The two officers in full dress uniform were at my door. And I opened the door, and the first thing I said was, "Is my daughter okay?" And they asked me, "Are you Jennifer Garrett?" I said, "Yes, sir." I'm like, "Is my daughter okay?" And he said, "May we come in?" And
Worst
then I
day,
knew.
the worst moment.
Oh, absolutely. That
It's-
had to have been, yeah, the worst moment of your life. And this is a tough question to even ask you, but how did you find the strength to even get through this? I mean, you had to get through it, and I know we have photos, of Morgan's memorial to share.
Yep.
But what were your next steps?
Of course, I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. Right afterwards, they said we couldn't tell anybody because they didn't know if Rihanna Ross is the other pilot who died in the crash. They didn't know if her family had been contacted. So, we couldn't say anything for a while. And then, once the word got out, it was just kind of going day by day. I mean, luckily, I had a lot of friends and family. I will say the Coast Guard went out of their way, I felt, to make us feel, supported. And they were wonderful. And I don't know, not even just my friends and family were very supportive. We received cards, letters, books, paintings of Morgan from people all over the country. I mean, I had to check my front porch maybe 3 times a day because there was always something coming from somewhere.
What a blessing to have so much compassion and empathy and love kind of sent to you, even from people that you did not even know, and
Right.
who were touched by the story and just wanted to share their condolences. And there became a silver lining, right? There became a silver lining in your
She
daughter's
decided,
passing.
yes. Tell the story about how the children's book came about, like your purpose, you wanted to get through the grief, and tell the story about how you managed that.
Of course, Morgan died in October. This was probably closer to January. And I was working from home because, again, nobody was really going into the office at that time. So Gordon, my guy, he watches a show every day from 5 to 6. So I get off work at 5, and normally I would just sit there at my desk and I might continue to work. But I had Morgan's phone, and it was always right there beside me. And some days I would just sit there and look through her pictures on her phone. And she had a lot of videos and, of course, pictures of her cats, and they made me laugh. I could hear her giggle in some of the little videos. So one day, I opened up PowerPoint. I had no idea what platform to use to actually sit down and write a book, but I knew how to use PowerPoint. So I started writing, and I even named the story, The Adventures of Ava and Rory. And I'd write a little bit, and then I would find a picture in all of Morgan's pictures to go with it. So I knew I wanted to get the book published. And in getting the book published, I knew the cats had to step outside the apartment. So actually, before they step out of the apartment, it's actually a true story. But then once they do step out, it does become fiction. But I did want to use, I used Morgan in the story, of course. The Coast Guard is in the story.
And I highly recommend this children's book for children. Everybody who I know who has purchased this book for somebody tell me that it's one of their favorite children's book to read to their children. What age would you say is good for the children's book?
I would say if you're going to just read this story to a child, 4 or 5 years old. But I know a teacher in Maryland, they actually read to their 4th graders. So, kind of somewhere anywhere between in there.
I like how you incorporated her best friend in the story. Was it her best friend in the Coast Guard?
Yeah, her name is, well, they call her Mac.
Yes,
and
she's the one who rescues them, right?
Right.
Yes, that part was so sweet.
That's
So
also-
I really saw so much of how you were going through your journey, kind of taking them through. It really was a special, I mean, just simply because probably I knew your story, but it does have a special touch, the way you use her pets in telling that story. And the Gold Star version does have a lot of little testimonials of kids who have read the story and
photos of them that they sent in.
And some information on the nonprofit that you've started. And I love the spin on how you've made this very different from other, it's the Heart of Courage. Is that what we're talking about? The Heart of Courage?
Organization.
Your organization?
Morgan Lynn Garrett Heart of Courage Foundation.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
I love how the qualifications that you have students meet for that, because it's like none other. And so tell us about how people qualify for that.
Thank you. We wanted to give something in Morgan's honor, because we definitely want to keep her name out there and her spirit alive. And so we started with 2 scholarships, 2 $2,500 scholarships to seniors at her high school. And what we decided to do was, first of all, Morgan was a good student, but she wasn't the best student. So we didn't want to necessarily have to give a scholarship to the student. Right. So the main thing was we wanted them to, of course, be in good standing at the school. We wanted them to be accepted to a college or a trade school. And besides those qualifications, we give them 5 questions and they can answer 3. And it's all about courage, what courage means to them. Can you give us an example of a time where you felt you were courageous, things like that. And the essays that have been submitted that I've read have been phenomenal. The students really allowed themselves to become vulnerable and really open themselves up and shared their story. And one of the things I've always said, like when I give the scholarships, is that they open themselves up to me, but I don't feel it's my place to tell their story. I feel it's their place to tell their story. And I don't know, it's been wonderful. And the kids, the young adults, I guess I should say, that have been the recipients have all, they're all just fabulous kids, just wonderful, wonderful kids.
And I love the focus that you talked about with us regarding the scholarship, is that you really try to focus on the character of the individuals that are recipients versus what all of their accomplishments have been. And I think that that's so important, because accomplishments does not determine someone's self-worth.
Nor their success in the future.
Yes.
They are just starting out, they are young, and the character that your daughter had was, drive, ambition, kindness. She wanted to reach out to people who were less able. Like she was helping out at the nursing home and helping her grandfather. So noticing that she was just reaching out her hand to help others step up and get to the next level. So it's like this is perfectly set for someone like herself.
And it's paying her own spirit forward of continuing to help someone else step up further into their education, into their career, their passion, their future. And it's just so perfectly representative of who she is.
Yeah.
And I know
love that she took her courage.
Yeah.
And it turned out her resilience to bounce back. And not everybody could have handled it the way that you handled this. I'm just really, really impressed with your resilience and your bravery yourself in getting through this.
Thank you. Definitely writing the book, creating the foundation, definitely, it has definitely helped.
It's a way to help yourself through your grief. It is your grief journey, and it is a beautiful one. I'd love to hear what your hope is moving forward with Heart of Courage. Where do you see this going?
Well, I'm hoping maybe to retire from my other job that I've got maybe this year. Ooh. And I would like to dedicate a lot more time with the foundation, with the book. And like right now we've got 2 scholarships that we're giving for at Morgan School, but I would like to maybe increase that and maybe go to some more areas. We'll probably start within our own local county, but then if possibly go, statewide, maybe even nationwide, and give more scholarships. We also, because, Morgan, she loved animals, of course, yes. And she loved older folks. And so we've also kind of joined in with American Humane. And they've got, it's called a Pups for Patriots, or I think it's Pups for Patriots program, where they will train a shelter dog and assign it to or partner it with a veteran who might, needs different types of assistance. And from what I understand, the training of those dogs is quite expensive. So that was one of the things we also want to do with our foundation, is help there. And then there's another organization called helpingahero.org that for returning veterans from, from war, or, different things that they may have issues, at home, like maybe they lost a leg or something along those lines. They come in and outfit their house so that they don't have to be so dependent on their spouse. Because they say one of the biggest causes of divorce in those situations is that they depend on their spouse too much. So they try to make their living, more independently, so that they don't have to depend quite so much on their spouse.
Well, it sounds
That's a fabulous cause, yeah.
sounds like you've looped in all of the things that were Morgan's passions into your Heart of Courage umbrella. And I think that is
Yeah,
so,
really try to.
so beautiful, because they're all connected to her story and what she lived for.
Yeah.
And that is just a beautiful thing.
So how can someone learn more about Heart of Courage?
They can go out. We do have our website. It's called the MLG Heart of Courage Foundation.wordpress.com. I know it's a long name.
That's okay, it'll be at the end of the show.
Yes.
And MLG stands for Morgan Lynn Garrett.
Right.
Yes.
Nice. Well, we are very honored that you have been with us today, especially to discuss all about Morgan and all that you're doing to honor her and continue really spreading her spirit and love, and especially to do this on a May episode to honor someone on Memorial Day.
And honor you as a mother who
Yes.
has lost such a dear soul.
So thank you for being with us today.
I'm going to give her a hug from all of us.
Yeah.
Because,
Yes.
I just love you. Aw.
Thank you.
And I love the Coast Guard. My husband was an aviator, and I just, this was just an amazing connection. I'm so grateful that we got connected.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too. Thank you.
Yeah. And remember to always look for the silver linings.